Greetings, Aboro Aboye. Shishe. Okay. All right, Ekuoju Awo. Greetings on this day of Awo. Hope all of you are enjoying your day, that you've thrown your obi and that your obi have been accepted. If you haven't, then as soon as we finish our little conversation, then you can go over there and make it happen. I want to give folks a couple of minutes to join us. We've got a great message about the more lessons that we learn in the time of crisis, and I think you're gonna find it rewarding and useful. So while we wait for folks to file in, we're gonna let Brother Kunde give us some sweet sounds of Dahomey. If you need to get some water or refresh your coffee, now's the time to do so. I'm gonna do that myself. Give me 1 second. I'm coming. I'm gonna refresh my water, and I'm coming right back. Alafia. Yeah, listen, how you doing? All is well. All is well. I'm enjoying the change in the weather more than anything else. Even though this is allergy season, so I'm about to get blown up a bit, but you know, it's worth it. It's worth it for that sunshine and warmth. I love it. How are y'all doing over there? How's the fam? How's that little classroom going? Alafia, Naima. How are you? Oh, you got to be doing well right now. This is nursing. This is high season for the nurses. Brother Delaney, how you doing, sir? Blessings, blessings, blessings. Hope you guys are staying safe, practicing social distancing. Nice. Congratulations. Greetings, Ava. Yes. That's good to hear. That's very good to hear. I'm glad, all the way around. Folks seem to be in good spirits, We're more than a week into this quarantine and people look like they're holding strong. That's encouraging. We'll give them a couple of minutes. Welcome, welcome. Hang on tight, folks. Just got like 1 more minute. I want to give people enough time to join us and be a part of the conversation. All right, let's do this. We'll make it official now. That's enough time for folks to have gotten the little bell and get in on this rich teaching. Greetings, Aboraboye. Blessings to all of you and your loved ones. Today is what is today? It's Thursday, April 2nd, and we are, living historical moments. Every day is an historical moment right now while we're experiencing this COVID-19 quarantine. And today I want to share the third lesson of leadership in the time of crisis. This is our third lesson in leadership in time of crisis. And for today, what we're gonna look at is the importance of getting down to the root of the cause. You got to get down to the root. What's the real source of the crisis? It's very closely related to the first lesson. The first lesson is reality check, right? Remember that's like get real. Don't put yourself into a fantasy world where you're pretending that this is not a crisis. Don't pretend that this is not a crisis. And of course, we can go back to, as mentioned before, our leadership, was a little slow, and they didn't want to accept that this was really a crisis. They wanted to kind of downplay it and sweep it under the rug. And as it has grown over the days, it's clear that this is something that it deserves very quick attention. And the deeper opportunity for you, though, is to recognize your part in the crisis and creating the crisis, right? Not that you spread the disease to somebody else, but all of the decisions that you've made in your life that positions you in a way that this crisis affects you the way that it does. All right. So that's the most important part of the reality check. What decisions have you made that put you exactly where you are, to be anxious, to be fearful, to be vulnerable, or to have advantages, to be powerful, to be well positioned, to be able to progress? How have you created this reality? How have you co-created this reality? It's important. It's essential, right? As the first step. The second lesson is in delegating authority, right? Delegate authority. Share the wealth, Don't try to bear the burden of this whole thing by yourself, right? And so we talked about Ogbeunle, which was the Ifa we cast at the Itadogun a few days ago. And one of the verses talks about how Oromila got carried away. He just didn't want to cooperate and collaborate with his family members, and he ended up really taking a beat down as a result. And so today we're going to look at, as I said, getting to the root cause. Okay, you get down to the root cause. There's a verse of Oyekumeji that says the light of the dawn can make it seem like the sun has risen, but in reality the sun has not risen. It's just the glow of the sun, right? So if you think about the dawn, right, you look out over the horizon and you can see that beautiful glow that comes up, and the sky really does light up. It can get very bright before the dawn, especially just as the sun is about to, come over the horizon. It can be really bright, but the dawn is technically when the sun peeks over that horizon. And so it's a great metaphor for making the mistake of seeing something that appears to be what you're familiar with, but it's a little bit different, right? Simple example is salt and sugar. We all know that salt and sugar look exactly the same. It's not until you taste them that you realize they are radically different. Okay. And so a lot of times, really most times in a situation like this, it's very easy and very tempting for us to look at symptoms and mistake symptoms for sources. It's very common for us to mistake symptoms for sources. And so we end up running around chasing symptom after symptom after symptom, but we never actually get to the root cause, right? So what happens? A person has a headache. They take an aspirin. The headache goes away. But did they solve the problem? Or did they just address one of the symptoms? because at the same time the person had a headache, they were also, feeling lethargic. They weren't sleeping well. Okay, so they took an aspirin to go to for the headache, and then they took some Valium or something so that they can go to sleep. So both symptoms go away. But have they solved the problem? Have they gotten to the root cause of the problem? And on and on. You can have 3, 4, 5 different symptoms, and you can do different interventions to address the symptoms independently. But have you reached the root cause? Okay? So this is something that is very near and dear to me because I've given this analogy before in other videos. This is something I know after having been a Babalawo for a number of years and having consulted Ifa for a lot of people. And after a time, it becomes like a research project, and you can start to aggregate your data. You say, hey, wait a minute. These things, there's a pattern, there's a trend. People are falling into certain, categories that make it clear that this is not an individual problem, right? These are all symptoms that point to one root cause. So the analogy is, let's say, for example, there's an apartment building, and in this apartment building, there's 10 people. Okay, I live across the street. I'm the Babalawo, live across the street from the apartment building where 10 people live. Independently, all those 10 people come to consult Ifa. They don't know that they're all coming to see me, but I know all of them because I see them coming and going from the same building. When I see them, well, 2 of them come and they have respiratory problems. 2 of them come and they have infertility problems. 2 of them come and they're suffering from chronic headaches. 2 of them come because they can't sleep well. 2 of them come because their joints are hurting. Okay? So I cast Ifa for them, and every time I cast Ifa for them, each one of them has a different sacrifice. Okay? Each one of them has a different sacrifice. Each one of them has a different set of observances or taboos, because that will remedy their individual situation, right? Because of your constitution, if you make this sacrifice and you keep these taboos, you're going to be fine. Because of your constitution, a different sacrifice, different taboos, you're going to be fine. It's true. Ifa has spoken well. Ifa has addressed that individual's situation. But what all those people have in common is they live in the same place and they're drinking the same water. Now, Fine Day is immediately going to start talking about Antioch Punch. Fortunately, I'm not drinking pure Antioch Punch today. I got a filter. That's an inside joke. Sorry about that. Anyway, all these people who live in the same place, they're all drinking the same water. And it's the water that's giving this guy a headache. It's the water that's making this one's joint hurt. It's the water that's making this person, not sleep well. It's the water, right? So what has to happen? All those people have to aggregate their data. They got to come together and compare notes and say, hey, you know what? I'm having the same problem, or I'm having a different problem. I'm having, what I'm saying, and research how this problem is showing up. When did the problem start to come out? Oh, I didn't have this problem until I moved into this apartment. Me neither. Bing, maybe there's something about this apartment. And then you can start to do the research and piece things together and get to the root cause of the problem. Okay? Very, very, very important that we start to get to the root cause, because if we don't get to the root cause, several things can happen. One, we can be treating individual symptoms as individuals. We can be treating symptoms independently, and then as groups of individuals, we can be treating our symptoms independently. Right? That's one problem. That's one result. The second result is the problem will recur. Right? You can put those symptoms out for a while, but then 3 months later, 6 months later, you're going to have that same set of symptoms will crop up again and again and again, right? So this is why, as your Babalawo, I will say, look, we shouldn't be recycling this thing. We should be you should be having different problems. We should be in, you know what I'm saying? You should be reaching different thresholds because we should go to the root of this thing, and then you have another problem as you get to another level, and then you get to another level and you have another set of problems. But we shouldn't be revisiting the same thing over and over and over in different iterations. But that requires that you get down to the root. Okay? So, um, if you look at the situation right now, what are some of the symptoms that people are experiencing? My job shut down, and so I don't have work. Since I don't have work, I don't have money. Or my my client base shrunk, so I don't have money. Because I don't have money, I can't, you know, I can't go to the market, or I can't pay my rent, or whatever the case may be. Although those are really severe symptoms, those are very they may be very painful symptoms. Um, or yes, I'm too sick to work. I've gotten sick, and I can't go out. You know, um, those are very acute symptoms. Those are symptoms that you've got to address. But are those necessarily the root cause? I would suggest to you that those aren't causes. Those are symptoms. Okay? Those are symptoms. And so you've got to take the time to step back and say, well, why is it that my income is dependent on this job alone? Right? And it's not a criticism. It's just a reality that is there any other way that I could be generating money? Do over the last 10 years, have I had opportunities to create multiple streams of income? Okay, and if I have, and I haven't taken those opportunities, right, to examine why, because that helps contribute to why the quarantine affects you the way it is. If your work is something that you know is face to face, right, then is there a way that you can shift the way that you work so that you don't have to only work, direct contact with people? And one of the ways that I will, share with you, the way I'm living this now, and how I'm interpreting it is just by virtue of a twist of fate. You know, my work is hands on. I face off with people as a teacher, as a babalawo, as a counselor. I work directly with the public, right? But over about the last 6 or 7 years, what has happened? I have, by virtue of being somewhat technologically savvy and having the need to replicate my classes and replicate my services so that I don't have to be, sitting in front of you every single time I teach something. I started to automate my classes. I started to automate my services. I started to make it so that my devices and my applications and etc., the technology, the computer helps me to be in 5 places at one time, which is what is impossible for a teacher, right? That's the hardest part of teaching, is that to teach this class, you got to be in the same place with me at that time, and I got to teach you, and so I end up teaching the same thing over and over and over and over. Well, if I can figure out a way to automate that, and I can put this class, on a into a computer program, well then, I've got a digital classroom, and I don't have to actually teach you that class over and over again. You can get in at will and study it as long as you want to and at your own pace. Okay? So consequently, over the years, I have reduced the number of people that I have to sit down and work with face to face or teach face to face, because I can make those classes and that information available through the digital classroom. And part of the reason why I'm able to make it available through the digital classroom is because I've taken the time to write my ideas down and my information down in books. So My thoughts and my ideas and my best practices are in books, and I can use my books as a baseline for teaching my classes, which means it's there. I can put it out, and that addresses a root problem, right? So now the fact that I can't go to a classroom or I can't go to tend to you in person doesn't prevent me from being able to offer my services because they're already digitized. And I know what the content of each one of them is because I wrote it. So even in the instances where you may have a service job, right, that is explicitly tied to a face-to-face interaction with people, start thinking of different ways that you can solve the problem of being able to provide the service without actually having to be there, at least part of the service. So I can't teach everything online, right? But I can teach several things online, and then I can be more selective. I don't have to have 10 people in front of me, and only two of them really are trying to learn. That's the reality of being a teacher. You got a classroom. I got 100 students, and of those 100 students, in each class, maybe I've got two people who are really, hardcore. They're ready. They're chomping at the bit. Well, I don't have to suffer the other 8 who are just there looking at me, so I can teach the 2. The 2 can get in there and they can find the high points of the lessons, and they can run through it as fast as they want, and they can go in as deeply into it as they would like. And then I can reserve my time to sit down with one person, with 2 people, and that's the person who I can actually sit, and there's other parts that I can teach to that individual or those 2 individuals. You understand what I'm saying? So that's my industry. That's my craft. In your craft, there are similar things. There are opportunities for you to change the way that you work so that you're not so locked into this other framework. Because this is what I'm getting at. What we've taken for granted is that the system that we're operating in, the economy that we're operating in, it's built for certain people, and it benefits certain people. It's designed for you to do things that will enrich and empower certain people. Okay? But there is a way for you to create your own system. There are certain ways that you can create a subsystem that like is it's an accompaniment to this system. For example, in the movie industry, you got the movie industry that is governed by the lots, right? Metro Goodwin Mayer, etc. That's the deal. They are the source of the economy. They're the base of the economy in that industry. But because the way that economy is set up, like I say, economics drives culture. The movie industry economy requires that you work, 10, 12, 14, 16 hours at a time. They're making one scene, and it's going to take them 16 hours to film to complete that scene. That means you can't go anywhere. You got to stay there. So there's a sub industry that accompanies the movie industry, which is the craft industry. These are the people who bring the food trucks. So on every movie lot, you got a food truck because the people can't leave to go and get their lunch. Or where they're filming is not necessarily accessible to a whole bunch of food options, and you can't have people driving 15 miles away to go to find food. So you got a couple of different craft services trucks that are going to provide food for the people on the spot. How can you start to solve different problems for yourself that support the main system without you being an employee of that system, where you got to be here at 9 o'clock and you got to take your lunch at 12 and you have to leave at 4 and you got to come to the company picnic and da 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 da. Right? This is your time to get down to the root cause. What's the root cause of your problem? Is there another way that you can organize your life and your personal economy that would allow you to exist on your own terms? Is there a way that you can organize yourself and your economy that would allow you to be somewhat immune to the problems that the system may suffer from time to time? Right? So this quarantine time, this is a perfect opportunity for you to evaluate what's the root cause of your problem. What's really the source of it? Is it that your job shut down? Is it that your client base has shifted? Or is it that you have not properly positioned yourself to be able to continue to earn, even if that system, the mainstream system, starts to waver or shift one way or another? Now, if you have lived through a downsizing in a company, if you have lived through the housing bust or the dot-com bust or the stock market bust, you already know that, change is a part of the deal. You've already seen how people suffer when the main system starts to shut down or have some kind of an ailment. Why do you continue to buy into that system and invest in that system exclusively as though it's a guaranteed hit? Yes, it does recover. Yes, you do, restore your opportunity to earn and to thrive in that system. But does that mean that you have to, define your entire existence based on the ups and downs of that system when you know for sure it is not designed for your benefit? It is designed to exploit your natural gifts and talents to benefit another set of people who are the owners. Okay? So how, at the end of the day, getting to the root cause is determining how do you become an owner. And not only do you become an owner of your own time and your own money, but how do you become an owner of your own talent and the product that you generate with your talent? Something I want you to take into consideration is that when you work exclusively for somebody else, all of your great ideas, all of your innovation, all of your creativity belongs to that company as well. And some of the great examples, again, when you go into the tech industry, listen, if you're a high up guy in the tech world and you leave a company, they legally require that you will not use your intellectual capital for another company. There's some instances where you can't have a job in the tech industry for a certain number of years. It's just, you can leave here. We can't make you work for us. But when you do leave, you cannot go work for anybody in the tech industry for 5 years. And that's how binding and how much influence your job can have over your natural gifts and talents. Imagine you've worked years to develop a certain skill set. You've worked years to accumulate certain kinds of knowledge and insights. And you cannot use that knowledge for your own benefit because another company owns the rights to what you have developed for them in the time that you work there. That's where we are right now. Okay? So I want you to become an owner of your own knowledge, an owner of your own skill, and start to codify that for your own benefit in a way that it's useful to you right now, but also you can hand it down to your children. Right? So you think about it. You work in the company for 5 years, 10 years. You cannot take it. You cannot take everything that's in your desk or on your computer and just give it to your child, or invite your child to come in. Hey, I'm leaving. Junior is going to sit at my desk from now on. I've taught Junior everything I know. I'm giving my job to Junior. My benefits, the whole nine. I'm going to live on the beach. You can't do that unless it's your company, unless it's your intelligence, unless it's your system. Okay, if you're the owner of that system, you can keep it. All right. So I'm the owner of my system. I can keep it. I can pass it down. My system doesn't belong to anyone. I have been taught. I have been trained. I have been, you know what I mean? And I practice the tradition. But my system is my system. My books are my books. My classes are my classes. I don't have to be subject to what other people think or what other people say. I have my own system. Okay? And I can offer my system to you on my terms. I don't have to do it on other people's terms. That's getting down to the root cause. Okay? That's getting down to the root. I'm not totally at the root, but I've got my hand almost down there to the root. You know, when you pull a weed out or You know what I mean? Like tuberous plant. You got to get all the way down to the base of that thing and pull it out, because if you don't, then you leave a little bit and it'll crop up. And over the years, what that represents is, yeah, I'm working on my own. I have my own business. I have my own system. But ever so often things get tight or I get doubtful, and I'm thinking, well, I could go back and get a job. That's always in my mind. Hey, you know what? I could go to the city right now and I could probably pull down 150 a year. I could go over here and I could probably do 200. I could come over here and I could live comfortable. I could do 70. That's in my mind, but that's where you know what I'm saying, that's not getting down to the root. Once I've gotten all the way to the root and I can pull that bad boy out, there will be no concern about what I can do in other places and how I could become, a fixture in somebody else's display. So that's what I'm encouraging you to do. This is lesson 3. Get down to the root cause. What's the root cause of your problem? Because that is also going to give you an indicator of what's the root cause of your joy. What's the root source of your happiness? What's the root source of your prosperity? What's the root source of your freedom? What's the root source of your power and your independence? Take this time to really get all the way down to it, right? This is crucial. Lesson number 3, get down to the root cause, okay? Because when you look, for example, at what they're telling us about this quarantine and the sickness, COVID-19. They're going to be talking about respirators. They're going to be talking about vaccines. They're going to be talking about certificates. They're going to be talking about quarantine. They're going to be talking about martial law. They're going to be talking about all these different things. All of that is symptoms. And then Orisha people too. We'll be talking about, taking this herb, and we'll be talking about taking that herb, and you do this ebo and do that ebo. It's all good. It can all be useful, but those are just hacking away at the symptoms. As a leader, I got to tell you, go beyond the symptoms. Don't get stuck at symptoms. Get down to the root cause of your discomfort. Dig down to the root of your power and your freedom. Don't content yourself with divination and sacrifice. Don't content yourself with medicines and charms. Don't stop there. That's not going to take you to the root of the problem. This is a unique opportunity. This is challenging you to really closely examine what's really going on. What's really happening in your life? Where is the real, nitty gritty of this whole thing? Don't be content with symptoms. Get down to the root. All right? Because dealing with symptoms, alleviating symptoms is not solving problems. Okay? Alleviating symptoms. I want you to post that, matter of fact. That's a mantra. I want you to remember this lesson. Post that on your social media. Alleviating symptoms is not solving problems. Hashtag Orisha Lifestyle. Post that on your social media. Alleviating symptoms is not the same as solving problems. Hashtag Orisha Lifestyle. Let everybody know. Start that conversation. Keep the conversation going to keep it fresh in your mind. Don't get caught up with symptoms. Dig down to the root cause. Okay? So what that requires is, as a practice, this is now I want to, as we get to the end, what I want to point you into the direction of a strategy. Okay? As a strategy. Trust, but verify. Trust, but verify. So you hear anything, you hear what I'm saying. You listen to the words that I'm saying right now. Trust me, right? Don't be skeptical and just like, he's talking crazy. Or don't just believe it and just, take it on lock, stock, and barrel. Verify. Test. You gotta, okay, so take what I'm saying and take what everybody is saying. Trust that what they're saying is true. Trust that at the very least, people believe what they're telling you. But verify it. Verify it. Test it. How do you verify? How do you verify? Verification requires that you get first-hand information. Verification means, as again, going to the root, it means you get first-hand information. In research, this is called primary sources. Okay? This is called primary sources. This is something that in the beginning of my career as a priest, I was fortunate because I was a researcher. I was in grad school. So I would get primary sources way back in the 90s. I was sending emails to guys in Nigeria. When, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, there was no cell phones. There was like, we barely had personal computers. But I was emailing guys in Yoruba land back in 91, 92, 93. Okay? If you go back and ask people in Nigeria how many people had access to a computer back then, you're going to find that the number was very small. But and the correspondence was almost like pigeon, you know what I'm saying, sending homing pigeons. It would take days for me to complete a conversation, but it happened. But it allowed me to get primary sources about what I wanted to know. I want you to verify, okay, when it comes to looking at your problem, when it comes to looking at your situation, your opportunities. Don't take gossip. There's so many people who love to gossip. There's so many people who like to kick up dust, right? They love little crises because it creates opportunities for them to, you know what I'm saying, just seem like they're somebody or they seem like they're relevant. They're not talking about nothing. This is another variation of gossip. You know what I'm saying? And you need to, only way you're going to find that out is if you verify. Don't just take people's word for it on any level. Verify. Trust, but verify. That means you can't stick to your knitting. Even though we're on quarantine, you got to stay home. You can't just be at home. You got to be reaching out to different people who are on the ground where you want to get knowledge, where you want to gain experience. Talk to them directly. Engage your own eyes. Be able to look with your own eyes and feel with your own intuition what's going on. What's really happening on the ground in the places where you want to work, in the places where you want to flourish. Okay? Get first-hand information. Verify. Okay? You've got to verify. Insist when you verify that people give you the full story. I can't believe how many people go as far as showing up. I see this very often in my own work. People show up, but they don't insist that I give them the full story. They don't dig deep into it and try to learn the fullness of the information. Right? You got to ask follow-up questions. You showed up at the place. Let me give you an example so this is more concrete. You come and you take my class. You want to get first-hand information. You say, hey, this Baba is teaching. He seems like he has something to offer. I'm going to take his class. I'm going to show up on his live. I'm going to, you know what I mean? I'm going to get his email, whatever. Then when I give you information, when I share something with you, when I teach you a lesson, you stop there. But I'm just introducing, right? This is a process of just introducing you to different things, introducing you to different ideas, different concepts, different information, different data, right? Your job is now to process that and then come back with follow-up. What else do you need to know to fill in the blanks and complete that story for you? You got to practice following up. Okay? Don't be lazy. Don't be complacent. Don't be lethargic. Don't wait. Stop waiting. You got nothing to wait for. Get the whole story right now. If somebody can't tell you more or they don't want to tell you more, let them tell you that that's all I can say about that subject. I don't have any more else to add to it. Let them tell you that that's the end of the story. If you don't know what to ask them to tell you. What should I ask next? I've gotten the information, I'm processing, I'm thinking it through, but what should I know next? What do you think is the next step with this information? Keep it going. In other words, get the full story. That's how you verify. You got to get the full story. What else can we say? Then all of this adds up to one thing, and this is my final comment. All of this adds up to your ability to define the real problem. Okay? As you aggregate the data of what you're experiencing, other people experience, as you verify different bits of information, you pull it all together, then you can analyze it in full. You got everything you need to know to really define the problem, right? As a leader, your job is not necessarily to then go out and solve the problem. I want to be really clear about that. You're not going to necessarily be the one to go out and do every single step, but you can outline it and profile it so that other people will know where to start, they'll know what to do, and they'll know how to be able to follow up. All right? But firstly, you got to really define the problem and not be, swinging at different kinds of symptoms. All right? So that's my lesson for today. We're at 41 minutes. I think that's probably plenty information. If you've got any questions or insights, you can feel free to send them right now, and I'll be happy to respond as I'm able to. And otherwise, you can type your question into the comment section, and in due time, I'll be more than happy to give you some follow-up information and answer your questions. As always, you can find me on my website, obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com. There's different ways to reach me through social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. All my links are going to be there when you get to my website, and my email address is all there. And if you want to continue the conversation about really getting down to the root cause, you need help or support getting down to the root cause, feel free to reach out, and I will be more than happy to help you help yourself to live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you're destined to serve. Many blessings to you and yours in this time. I pray that this quarantine will allow you to discover aspects of yourself and your environment that will, enrich your life and give you a greater sense of happiness and freedom. Talk to you soon. Bye for now. Odabo.